What's going on, guys? Coach Myles here for my performance, and for this Whiteboard Wednesday, we're discussing hypertrophy versus strength and power training, training the hardware versus the software. So today we're looking to discuss and differentiate between some of the effects of hypertrophy versus strength and power training, and simplify these pretty intricate topics so that they're easier to understand. In short, keep in mind that we have our muscular system that pulls on bones to produce movement, and our CNS, or our central nervous system, which is made up of our brain and our spinal cord, which actually sends that message to our muscles to tell them what to do. So starting with hypertrophy. What is hypertrophy? Again, we're looking to increase the cross-sectional area of our muscles, in other words, becoming bigger, jacked, swole, whatever term you choose. Typically, we're working in the 65 to 80% range of our 1 rep max for 6 to 12 reps per set. Compared to the strength and power training we will cover coming up next, the CNS involvement in this type of training is much lower. So now moving on to strength and power, we're looking primarily at improving our central nervous system's ability to send signals to our muscles and recruit as many motor units as possible to complete the task at hand. This is true especially with 1 rep maxes, as we're trying to apply the most force we possibly can. And additionally, we're trying to improve the rate at which this happens when training for power to improve our rate of force development. So again, not only how much force we can apply now and produce, but how quickly we can do so. Typically, we're working in the 30 to 70% range at higher speeds for 1 to 5 reps per set for power, and greater than 80% for 1 to 5 reps per set for strength. Compared now to that hypertrophy training we already mentioned, the CNS involvement in this type of training is obviously much higher. So here's our iPhone analogy. So to simplify these topics, we could think about our hypertrophy training as upgrading our iPhone to the latest model, while our higher CNS strength and power training could be more easily compared to getting an iOS update to our current phone that we already have. In the case of hypertrophy, going from an iPhone 8 to an iPhone 11, we have a much sleeker phone, bigger screen, fully touch screen, get rid of the home button, 3 cameras, better processors, etc. Okay, now in the case of strength and power training, we're getting an iOS update to that phone we already have. The phone we already have now functions more smoothly, there are less bugs, signals are being sent more efficiently, and the phone is much easier to use. So, are these two modes of training exclusive? Of course not. Especially in the case of beginners, a safely programmed and coached training program will obviously still have positive effects on the nervous system. Inter and intramuscular coordination will absolutely still be improved with this higher volume and lower intensity training, especially in the beginner population. Keep in mind, however, we're looking to optimize performance. Okay, so again, that's where this presentation comes from, and this differentiation will have to be made as our athletes reach a more advanced level. So who cares? Well, who's this message really for? 2 groups primarily, okay, weight class sport athletes and people looking to grow bigger muscles. So, weight class sport athletes can derive plenty of benefit from primarily doing CNS-driven training without worrying about putting too much weight on. Many athletes are scared of lifting weights because they feel like they'll put on a bunch of size and bump themselves out of their weight class, which is understandably a big issue, but they can still perform plenty of max effort and dynamic effort work and severely improve their iPhone's operating efficiency without upgrading to that bigger, bulkier phone or putting on a bunch of body weight. Conversely, there are plenty of people who go to the gym religiously and only ever lift heavy weight, wondering what their 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 rep max is, and become very disappointed that they're not putting on as much muscle as they originally hoped. While improving your CNS, or your iPhone's operating system update, is extremely helpful and important in your hypertrophy endeavors, as you'll be able to use heavier weights when doing those hypertrophy sessions, training exclusively in this manner is obviously not optimal for hypertrophy gains. If you want to look and perform anything like these gentlemen in the photo, you'd likely best be served including both modes of training in your regimen, again assuming that you're not in a weight class sport that severely limits your ability to put on a ton of weight, and assuming that these things are programmed accordingly by a competent coach. So that's it for today, guys. Bit of a quicker one, but again, hopefully this really helps simplify a very complex topic and makes more sense and clears up some myths, especially for those who, again, are afraid of putting on too much weight for their weight class sport. Hopefully this helps you realize that there's still a lot of benefit that can be derived from training with weights, as long as you do so intelligently. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Send us an email at info@ironperformance.ca. Until next time.